Welcome, everyone. As you can see, I don't have the big, broad cowboy hat on, and I'm definitely better looking than Brian Fredrickson. I just want to welcome everyone to the My Fence Life podcast. Brian is enjoying a little bit of a break, and somehow I got conned into hosting the show for him while he's gone. So everyone out there, look forward to tonight's show. I want to introduce our two guests. We've got Chance Roy. Chance, how you doing?
How's it going, man?
And then we have Tyler Cruz. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Sasha?
So, firstly, guys, introduce me to who you are, what your business is, what do you do. We'll start with you, Chance. Tell me a bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, so my name's Chance, obviously. I'm a owner of Cajun Fencing. We've been doing fence for 6 years now. I don't have a crazy story. Kind of started small, worked our way up. We have 8 employees now, 1 full-time salesman. Yeah, man, we just blessed to be on, my fence life, and maybe we could spit out some knowledge and learn as we go.
That's going to be a bit hard with a couple of fencing guys, but we'll give it a go, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my name is Tyler Cruz.
Chance, where are you?
Oh, okay. Got to break it up there.
Where's Cajun Fence? I'm assuming it's somewhere in the Where you located?
So we located in Lafayette, Louisiana, in the
Chance,
south. Almost as low as you can go.
And what's your territory? I love it. And what do you cover? What's your territory you cover?
I mean, we've went far out before, 100 miles, but we like to really keep it within 50 mile radius, maybe 70, but we keep it pretty local. Yeah, it ain't too often we go to a suitcasing or anything like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Tyler, tell me about yourself, bud.
My name is Tyler Cruz. I'm the general manager at Biddle and Brown Fence Company in Phoenix, Arizona. Originally started in California in a couple different outfits, commercial fence, union, stuff like that too, but moved out here about 3 or 4 years ago. Stepped into this position about a year ago for general manager, and we dabble in pretty much specialty custom, a lot of school projects and stuff like that too. We love the data centers. We love multi-tier projects, stuff like that too, and anything special. Some of where the other fence guys are kind of scared, we kind of like dabbling in that.
Nice. And where's your territory? Like, where does Biddle and Brown sort of focus their territory in?
All corners of Arizona. All corners of Arizona.
Okay.
We go anywhere.
Yep. Well, tonight, guys, why we sort of, set this podcast up was we really want to talk about and hear your two expertise on, what do we do and how does a residential installer maybe get into commercial? What are the pitfalls? What are some things to look at? I know, Tyler, your specialty is commercial. Chance, you do a little bit of both. So getting that perspective from you two will be really interesting tonight. And as everybody knows, we're all going to be at the Fence Show in Las Vegas. So I'm going to throw some dates out real quick, and I'm sure it's going to pop up. And Susan's going to beat me with a stick if I get the dates wrong. So let me see if I can get the dates right. So October 1st to 3rd is the actual fence floor show, and the education part starts September 29th. And this show is sort of pivoting off a new education program that FWA is going to start, which is an education program for anybody thinking or wanting to get out of, or not out, but start to work into the commercial industry. There'll be an education program helping people with bid processes and all sorts of stuff to just broaden your horizon if you're interested in, taking your residential install company and having a play in commercial. So my first question I want to ask you two to answer, whoever wants to answer it first, what's the difference personally between the residential install side and the commercial, if any?
I'll let Tyler take it.
Well, in my perspective, because I've dabbled in a little bit of both in my previous life in Southern California, with residential, it's very personal, right? It's someone's personal house, stuff like that too. When it comes to commercial, it's a little less heart in it, I guess you could say. It's more business, right?
Mm.
And it seems like it's more productive. Like a lot of the residential stuff, in my opinion, is a lot of favors, a lot of wheeling and dealing, personally with someone's house rather than commercial. It's more competitive, right? You usually have your peers that you're normally bidding against, or you have a relationship that's really good and you're just kind of bidding directly to them and giving the best pricing, so you don't have to be competitive, right? Where in the residential market, it's more of a feeling. You have to be very personable and stuff like that too. Even if you're a really good company and a really good reputation, the person at the house doesn't like the way you look, probably not going to get the job. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the added fit, just kind of the thought process behind the residential on my end, kind of layman.
Chance, what do you think to that? What do you think?
Yeah, to add on to Tyler, I would say the three things that pop into my head is the size of the job, typically,
Yep.
The payment structure, and I would say the relationship. You know, that's the three factors to me that differ the most.
So how
I've
would
been
you?
for more
Sorry.
residential jobs than anything in my life. They don't like a certain thing. It's like you're only getting paid a portion of the work.
Right. Yeah.
So in my experience,
What would Brian and Sean say?
all right, here we go, guys. Question 1. So just so everybody knows, these questions come off from the post fence only industry. So the first question tonight is, how does your company handle job cancellations at the last minute? Is a deposit refunded? I believe in our state they have 3 days to cancel a deposit, and after that it's locked in. But do you refund anyway? Do you offer a partial refund, or just keep it and tell them there is nothing you can do? Just curious on how everyone handles this situation. And this is coming from Granger Mattingly. What do you guys? One of you guys answer that one?
I'll let
Yes.
Chance go first.
So hopefully none of my clients or customers are watching this, but if we do, I think this only had 6 years. It happened one time, but if somebody wants to cancel, we just give the money back. I think it's a good faith. It might say it on your contract, this fee or this or restock fee or anything. If it's not a special order, we give them the money back. And if it is a special order, I guess we give the material with it too. I don't know, anything to make it to just move on.
I guess it depends on how this is framed, right? Like on a commercial project versus residential. Like residential, I'm 100% on Chance's level, right? Because your reputation follows you everywhere, right? They might fall into a situation where something happens and they just can't afford the fencing anymore, right? So you want to make sure, like you said, in special order stuff, restocking stuff, you can work with them on stuff like that too. But if it's just a standard off the wall thing, it's different. But if it's a commercial project, for example, like if you're about to start a project and they cancel on you because they found someone cheaper, usually you can say, hey, look, man, we have some time invested in this. Let's just make it fair and just be upfront and honest with them. You're not trying to get the full contract amount or anything like that. But hey, look, you cancel last minute, you're still doing the work. I mean, if the job got canceled completely, that's different. But if they're shopping around, then you have some grounds to stand on. But if usually you did the right thing, you say, hey, look, appreciate it. On the next one, they're going to remember that and hopefully call you back. And your reputation will follow you. And how you approach these tough situations.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we've got another question here. Thanks, guys. That was a really good answer. What's a better way to get more leads besides Google? This comes from Jonathan Jenkins. What do you guys think?
So what I would say is my advice is, I think the obvious is always use what's free. So you should be on every social media page. and posting daily, doing live videos, making videos of your employees. You know, yard signs. That's a good idea. We
That's
have
a good
yard
one.
signs. But what we do is we'll sit every job that gets sold. We'll go out and put a yard side out. Sometimes the yard side is out for a month, sometimes even longer if it's a special order thing. So that's a good idea as well. But I think social media, it's free, use it, um, and then hire yourself a good website designer. Have a good website, make it look professional. You know, that's the first place where most go is your website.
Yep. That's a good point. What do you think, Ty? What do you think?
I think it's a good combination, right? So like you said, on the commercial side, if you have no footprint, if you're not spending any money on advertising or anything like that, too, your workmanship usually speaks for itself. If you put your own signs on your own work, people drive by and see it's free advertising on the work you've already done. On the residential side, like you said, social media is the key, right? Social media is the key for residential because that's where a lot of people. I mean, Facebook Marketplace, stuff like that too, Craigslist, stuff like that, just to kind of get a call, right? They might not be the customer. They might be people that are a little bit, depending on your price range, stuff like that too. Especially if you're starting off, you're selling everything, right? But if you're more established, you get a little bit more overhead, you might not be in the range that some of these people are looking for, but at least you're getting the calls, right? And you get a shot because Google, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on Google's and get one lead that's worth a damn out of 50, right? So like you said, and the other thing too is a lot of the old school ways is getting out there and being where the people are, right?
Yeah.
Like the home shows, like for residential, they like to do those home shows. Like if you're out there, you'll see a lot of the solar people, you'll see the typical offenders at these shows. But if you're a fence company, rather than having a booth and you're just walking around and just kind of meeting people, that's like people set up a booth and they sit there wait for people to come to them. If you're actively trying to sell work, you get out there, you bring your cards, and you go see the people that are walking around. Like, hey, you guys do a fence to your house, stuff like that. You just actually start talking to people and actually being personable because that's what sells a job in residential is your personality and who you are as a person is what's selling the job.
I like that. And before I go to the next question, this is a plug for JC Jury. If you need signs, yard signs, go see JC Jury. They'll take care of you, man. They take care of our fencing industry a lot of time for those guys. And I agree. Like, look, coming from the install side myself, simple things like you said, Chance and Tyler, like whatever you can do free, try that. There has to be some marketing. Has to be. I feel like you're right, Tyler, too. We've lost that one-on-one, looking in the eyes. I think that's a big part of, if you can sort of get yourself in front of people, you will be successful in the long run, I believe. Okay, here we go to the next question. From Colucci Construction. So these are a custom fence builder. To those of you who drive Postmaster's post, do you use 8-foot or 9-foot posts for a 6-foot wood privacy fence? What do you think, Chance? This might be.
Yeah, this would be more of a residential install. So we used to use Postmasters Plus, and we would get 10-foot. But I do know that you can get away with 9-foot. You just have to, be 42 plus inches into the ground. So just make sure you're going deep enough with the posts.
Yeah, you always want more meat on the bone, so you can cut off if you mar the top and stuff like that too. But you never want to do. And soil conditions are the same thing, right? So a longer post, you hit a rock or something like that, you can cut as long as it's secure, but always go longer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Chance, we're losing you, bud. Like,
I'm cutting out. I'm still cutting out.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go.
No, you're good now. Yeah. You're not cut. Yeah, you'll have to start from the beginning on that one. We completely lost all of that.
Did y'all hear what I said about the Postmasters?
Yep.
No, you did or no?
No.
We're not losing Chance. We're losing Sasha.
You're losing me? Oh, okay. That's my fault. I don't know how to fix that. Remember, I'm Australian.
Feed the gerbil, Sasha. Feed the gerbil so you can get your internet back up.
Yeah, I know. What's going on?
I'm like, man, I pay for some $high internet. What's going on?
Me too. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Is that better, Susan? Can you hear me now? Am I back on?
No, I hear you clear.
Yeah, I hear you too.
Right.
You're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I don't know if we can go back to answer that. So I'll let Susan dictate. But if you can remember roughly, it was a question about, you're putting in the postmaster when you're driving in, are you using 8, 9 on a 6-foot fence? What do you normally do, Chance, on that sort of project?
Right. So like I said, I used to install postmasters. So we would buy 10-foot because I was also new to the driving and everything. So we were like, hey, deeper is better. So we would drive on, I think you could get to like 54 inches or 52 inches, whatever that was. Well, but I do know you can use, and people do use 9 foot in length. The biggest thing is just to make sure you're going, you're up to ASTM standard and going to that 42 inches plus, deep.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing, making sure you at least 42 in the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that, I don't know if there's any more questions from what would Brian and say and the boys, but I think we'll move on unless Susan's got more to throw at me. But going back to our commercial question then, so how do you find commercial jobs? Ty, what would you tell a residential person that's going, hey, I'm thinking of getting into commercial? I mean, what's the first couple of pitfalls, or maybe not even pitfalls, because they're not pitfalls, but what would you suggest to them to start doing, to start making that transition?
Well, a couple things, right? It depends on what kind of commercial work you want to get into, right? Like if you're trying to get into specialty stuff, I mean, that's out there. You're going to have to knock on doors, right? But if you're just trying to get in the market, just bare bones, and trying to get whatever you can, I think Chance mentioned before that he's using bid board, and that's kind of the first steps, right? So you're going to get into the hard bid market, and you're going to kind of cherry pick the jobs that you can kind of get, right? Because you don't want to. And one of the worst things that people do when they start fence companies, they get it over their head. They figure, hey, let's just sell it and make it work, right? And they struggle and struggle and struggle, and that kind of puts stresses on relationships too, because you're not trying to sell the fence, you're trying to sell your company. You're trying to build a relationship with the GC that's on this list, so he calls you on the next one rather than having you bid against 10 other fence companies, right? You're gonna have to be low to get in. That's just the way it's gonna have to be. Get in, do your best work. You're probably gonna have to pay for the first couple jobs. You're probably not gonna make much money, but you're looking to gain that relationship and that trust with the GC. The first couple GCs you win jobs with are probably not going to be the right GCs for you. They're probably just shopping around trying to get their cheapest they can, use and abuse you, and move on to the next one. But the few that are on there that you want to maintain are the ones you're going after. That's probably the best advice to give to a residential going into commercial. And again, with your reputation too, always stick to your morals and stuff like that too. Always do the right thing, and that'll carry you no matter what industry you're doing.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about your.
I'm losing them.
Yeah, I'm losing them too.
Yeah.
You me now or not?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So tell me a bit about you, Chance. Are you what your company is? It residential? Is it a little bit of mix of commercial? How did you get into it? If you did, tell us a bit about your process.
Yeah, so we are predominantly residential. We're like, I'd say 60-40. Our commercial side is growing, but really it's all privately, like people, general contractors or big businesses are calling us direct, right? We're not really bidding on softwares or anything like that. Most of our stuff is just, hey, they rang our phone, we answered, and got the job. It's privately done. But to go back on where you find the jobs, I think that's probably what 9 out of 10 contractor's problem, right? Well, how do I get to these jobs? Because there's nothing like driving by 2,000 feet being installed, this big 8-foot fence, and I'm like, dang, man, it would sure be nice if I could at least have an opportunity at bidding that, right? So, and look, that happens to me all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's most people's, struggle is, man, I didn't even know that was going to be a thing, a fence. I didn't know they needed a fence. So it's fine, like you said, it's the softwares. I'm just finding the jobs.
Oh, here we go. What is this? Am I reading this correctly, guys? The boost they couldn't control. Has Brian Fredrickson got a book he's putting out?
This is actually the first time I see this.
I don't even think he could write. Who's doing the book for him?
He's a ghostwriter.
He's just chat GPTing this.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He chat GPT'd the whole book.
Oh, you know what it is? It's a comic book. It's all pictures.
Hey, that's my kind of book.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is awesome. Okay, so June 15th, Brian's coming out with, oh, wow, that's going to be a very interesting book. I'm a little scared of trying to read it, but we'll give it a go. That's exciting. So, going back to this discussion, you guys have made some very valid points. So I feel like, what's the hurdle of maybe bidding a commercial job versus, well, let's say you've got the contact, you've got the opportunity to bid. What are some of the differences between bidding a commercial job versus a residential job, if at all any?
Tyler, you could go.
In my opinion, with residential, you always got to spell everything out very clearly, right? Every option, every feature that they can add to it too, because you're trying to upsell too, right? You're coming with that base price, and you're giving all the add-ons, stuff like that, to the different features, stuff like that too, from vinyl to different types of wood fencing, stuff like that too, to try to see what fits their budget best, right? And quite honestly, the more information, the better. And in commercial fencing, when I got into it, was kind of lazy, I guess you could say. Like, a lot of people were just doing lump sum pricing, just hey, we're going to install your fence and here's the number, right? And I realized what I learned from commercial and from residential was that once I spelled everything out clearly and broke everything out separately on these bids, I started getting more calls, more questions, right? Because I was holding these GCs to the fire. Before, if you missed fencing, like say, hey, we're bidding the full fence scope on this commercial project, and you missed 100 feet of fence on your takeoff, you're eating that. You're eating it. So the tried and true way was spelling out every single item that we were bidding on that project, so we can be very clear. So when the contract came in, we can use it as an exhibit and spell out exactly what we're doing on it. Because before, I would have estimators miss a couple things on it, we would have to eat it, because we didn't spell it out clearly that we're actually bidding those scopes. I mean, as far as even, they would even put, relief roads in some of these fence specs, like on some of these larger projects. They'll actually put a relief cut road. You have to cut and grade and gravel these roads that are in the fence section. It's not any fence scope, but they put it in the fence spec section, so technically it falls under your responsibility. And if you're bidding all the fencing scope, you're stuck, you're liable for that work, regardless if you bid it or not. So that's why you got to be very careful with your T's and C's. And that's the other thing too with commercial work. You have to know contracts. You have to have a good relationship with the GC, because you can get burned very easily. Just like with residential, you do a business with the customer, really high end stuff. You don't get the proper deposit and stuff like that too. You could be eating and losing a lot of money. So it's both double-edged swords. With commercial, I think it's a little less of a risk than it is with residential, as far as losing out and stuff like that too.
So, that's a good question too. I saw Brian paying out my Aussie. I don't know. Brian should be on this, by the way. So if he's going to pay me out, he should be on this show. Susan's got a really good question. What about cash flow? Commercial doesn't pay as fast, right? What do you guys think about that statement?
It depends on who you're targeting, right? Like if you're targeting projects with customers that can do deposits, that's a perfect world scenario. But usually it's not. Usually you're getting these contracts and you're putting the money out and you're waiting 30, 60 days, depending on the terms, if this thing's rolling, right? We're residential, you get that deposit check up front. You know what I mean? And that's the difference in cash flow, stuff like that too. With commercial, you're definitely putting your money out there first to maintain these projects.
Yeah. When we first started,
Yeah. Chance,
when we first started getting to like bigger commercial jobs, we would simply ask, "Hey, can y'all pay 50% up front?" Like we would just ask, and if sometimes they said yes, sometimes they said no. You know, we've honestly been blessed to get it more than not.
Yep.
So that went a long way. So really, you only had to float the payroll, which isn't as bad, you know.
Exactly, and it depends on, and there's one thing about commercial and residential: your relationships will carry you through everything, right? Sasha, for example, with line fencing, right? Like if I was to leave and go start a residential company tomorrow, I could do it without any cash. As long as I got my 2 legs and I got some tools myself, I could start it without cash. Because Sasha, I could work out terms with him because of our relationship, and he could float me 30, 60 days, depending on depending on the size of the project and stuff like that too. So if you have a relationship with vendors, you can literally start today, get a contract with the customer, start the project, based on terms with your vendor, but make sure everything's right. You got to have contracts, stuff like that too. You always protect yourself. And that's the best way I would say to do it. Make sure you have a relationship. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have merchants, Lion, as long as you have a relationship with a vendor that you can trust and build a relationship with them, they'll extend you terms. Even if it's 15 days, as long as something that you can work with them to get a project rolling and start your career.
Yeah, we've signed contracts that stated, hey, we're not going to pay you till the owner pays me. So you really,
that's paid when paid, and that's commercial. It's a lot of those commercial projects. So you gotta be like, hey, some of the contracts you got to pass on too. Like especially if you're starting out. I mean, if you're expecting to do a $50,000 project and wait 3 years to get that money, that's asking a lot, especially for someone as a starter.
So Susan had another good question too. I don't know how this lady has such good questions, right? But is there a number that you think for cash flow purposes, that you should have when you're transitioning from residential to commercial? Is there sort of is there a number that goes, hey guys, when you're transitioning, you might need a percentage, or is there a number or an idea of what you really need cash wise to transition your business in the commercial?
It depends if it's your cash or loan cash, right? It depends, right? Like if it's your own personal fund doing it, just make sure you cover your buddies, right? Like Sasha, if we went into business together and I started a project, I got to make sure that money is set aside to pay for those materials. Because if that job goes sideways or anything, I'm going to make sure that my relationship with you is still strong, so I can, get with you on the next one. Because if I burn you, there's no future. There's no future.
Yeah, I think to sum it up is don't bite more than you can chew. Don't bite more than you can chew, right? I mean, I think it's that simple.
Yep.
And I feel like, when you're starting off in commercial, Chance, and maybe you can sort of, elaborate on that. You have a couple of different commercial jobs, right? Or commercial departments, let's say. That's probably not the right word, but you've got private commercial, you've got public commercial, you've got industrial. So I think that transition, like when you're transitioning, or if you look at transition, what is your thoughts on that? Is it because you talked about something that's really amazing. Like you're driving past that 2,000 lineal foot job, and you're just like, man, it'd be nice. Like I think I can handle that, right? But the to that is, well, firstly, how do I bid it? How does a GC or whoever the owner is know who I am, that I can handle that? 1. 2, what's it going to cost to handle, right? 3, what's the paperwork to handle it? And 4, when am I going to get paid? And I feel that transition period, is it better to go into private? Is it, do you chase these public works jobs? Do you chase these big industrial? I think that's the daunting part for anyone thinking to go residential to commercial, right? Because there are different parts to the commercial industry. And how do you simplify it, right? So I think that to me is something that people need to understand, right? Like, like you said it before, Chance, and Tyler's very clear about the pitfalls or just obstacles. I don't look at them as pitfalls. I think they're obstacles, right?
Yeah.
You know, what do you two think? Do you sort of come out of residential if you're looking and stick to private, like start off in the private sector where maybe the money comes a bit quicker? Like you said, Chance, maybe you can ask the question, because where I'm from, and Tyler spent a lot of time in California, Arizona. Tyler, can we ask for deposits on most of these in commercial jobs?
You can. Doesn't mean you're going to get them.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I think, Chance, what you were saying before. Ask the question, right? So going back to what do you guys think about the different departments in commercial? Is there a better one to start in? Is it not? Is it just like, what do you guys think,
Well, like you said,
I personally think.
Yeah. No, please go ahead, Chance.
Sure. Yeah. So I personally think it's first you have to ask a few questions like how much manpower do you have? How much cash do you have? And where are these jobs too? Where are they? Are they out of state? Are they in state? Or whatever. So I think you have to know your company first, and then that will tell you where you can go. In my shoes, we went. Private commercial kind of fell into our to our feet, and it worked out. We've had small jobs. We had that we were able to see how the cash flow works, right? We waited for $18,000 for 90 days before. So, which is a lot of money, right? It is a lot of money, but it's not 50,000, 60,000. So, all right, we were able to see, all right, can we manage 18,000, right? Can we break off, three people, at a drop of a dime sometimes, So it's kind of like it's your own feel to your own company.
Yeah, I like that answer. I think, Ty, I don't know what you think. I think that's a really good response, because you're right. Everybody's different. Everybody's in a different situation. So yeah, you have to that transition you have to look at yourself and your company. What is this nonsense? Here we go. So here's a bit of an alert here. I don't know. This guy without a hat, without his cowboy hat, just doesn't look right. So on tap of the new 2025 membership cards will now give you access to register for available education classes, suppliers, FWA Health. Guys, just before I keep going, I don't know about you guys, coming into the fencing industry, I felt like, we're sort of divided. We sort of get a bit scared about opening up, like talking about how our company works versus other companies, and getting together. But I haven't really seen a movement like FWA that's really gone out there and, like health insurance, right? I don't know how it is for you, Chance. For Ty, it's a little bit different maybe. But even basic stuff like education and health insurance in our industry, that to me is a huge blessing, because I feel like, man, those people in fencing and us guys that are in fencing, we don't necessarily have access because, we're smaller companies, whatever, Line's not the biggest company in the world. We try to provide health insurance and all of this stuff. But when you see what FWA is trying to offer, I mean, it blows me away, because, it helps us little companies be able to support our workers, right? And I feel like when I read stuff, I don't know, what do you guys think about, the FWA health insurance, all the networking? Sort of pivot a little bit. Like, let me ask you two personal questions about, the FWA show. We already talked about it earlier. October 1st to October 3rd is the floor show. September 29th is the education. What is what is your guys' opinion of FWA and the Vegas show coming up? Or
Well,
your
I'd like to
experience?
say, yeah. So the FWA, to brag on it a little bit, is I have a plumber friend, right? Different fields in the trade. Well, I start telling them, hey man, we have this FWA, Fence Workers Association. They offer health insurance. We have demo days. We have started telling him all the events. He's like, what? He's like, y'all have all that in the fence industry? And it was like really he was mind blown. He was like, I was like, yeah, man. I was like, we go to Vegas. I've done went to Vegas 3 times now to experience, what Brian has started. He's like, bro, no way. And he was mind blown that something in the fence industry is so big, and it is a blessing.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's time to start taking care of the fences, the fencing people out there. We've tried to put everyone in a box. Oh, you're a guy with one truck. No, stop labeling. Anyone that's in the fence industry deserves to have, the resources and be treated with respect. And, reading this One Tap, FWA's joined the One Tap connection, to bring all these things together. Even the networking events, the Spanish events. Now, what about FWA women? Like, those ladies are out there really trying to, encourage more female presence, because, us three guys are pretty ugly, man. It's better to have some of that, that presence, and they're doing a great job. And I feel like, I don't know about you, Tyler, because I like to get your guys' perspective, because I'm a supplier now. So these shows, is all about meeting you two for me. So I feel for me, while I'm on that pom-pom with FWAs, the first show for us, the Lion, was amazing, because we got to meet people that I'd never got to meet before. And I thought I knew most fencing guys in SoCal, and I tend to find out I don't know much. And then the second year was that follow one. So for me, that show's so cool, because I get to meet people like you two. What do you think, Tyler, about, like, is it pros, cons? What do you think of what FWA is up to?
Well, I'll touch on the medical insurance stuff like that too. It's also a great tool for employee retention, right? So say you're a guy who wants to expand, but you can't really afford the health insurance to get a new employee, having this behind you is great. It's great, to offer health insurance, stuff like that too. But overall, the fence show, it's still young in my opinion. I've been to one, and it's kind of, I've been to the other fence show for years, Fence Tech, stuff like that too. And I've always been interested in how, the same people go the same year, stuff like that too. It's a lot of repetitive stuff like that, and over time it kind of gets redundant, right? Like, you don't really feel the need to go because you've already seen everything, right? And where the fence show can change, and what we talked about before, is maybe introduce a different, side of it, right? Have our vendors, have our fence guys, and also maybe bring some GCs in it too, right? Because Vegas, if it's in the same place every year, right, instead of jumping around different states, stuff like that too, like the other fencing association show is, people know the dates and times, they know the location, and just getting some GCs out there too and say, hey, look, while you're at the fence show, why don't you look at some products and maybe some installers at the same time too. Kind of mix of both, where the other people are just kind of, it's almost like it's a boys club, right? Hey, the same usual suspects, they put on these big booths and stuff like that too. And for smaller fence companies, you get there, okay, I'm already doing business with merchants, we're already doing business with these guys, stuff like that too. But there's no really, who am I selling to, right? It's mostly I'm buying when you go to these things. It's just the only opinion, but I really like what he did with the show. It's definitely different, bigger than I thought it was going to be, because usually with these things that are startups, are very small, very, very small. But all the usual people came out, even more. Actually got me out there, because I never went to these shows because I thought they were a waste of time, just to be honest. But getting out there, meeting people, and just kind of seeing where your competitors at, seeing the vendors, stuff like that too. And that's the other thing, a key to success for a lot of these smaller guys, is direct, right? Like Lion Manufacturing, stuff like that too. We have our relationships with our other big corporations, like Master Halco, merchants, and stuff like that too. But as long as we're diversified, and we actually have Lion and stuff like that too for specialty items like iron, they're not selling chain link, anything like that. But if we want to be competitive, on these big projects. Unfortunately, not everything's manufactured in the United States. You have to go overseas for some of these projects to be competitive. So you have to have a good resource for that. And these fence shows are great for that, to go meet people and just try them out. I mean, you're not gonna be 100% with every fence vendor, but as long as you find one that you trust and find the quality, that's the benefit to the fence show.
Yeah, and we're seeing, I think, like what we're talking about. You're going to have a show. It has to benefit the fence people, like the people actually installing the fence. And I like that idea. What about GCs, right? I think that's great, right? If you can have your personal, again, we're talking commercial tonight. If we can have your GCs or the ones you try, whatever that is, come to these shows, it's just going to strengthen your relationship with them anyway, and show them also, hey, look, there's all sorts of people out there. There's all sorts of products that you can use. And I like that. I think that's something different that I think we've strayed away from. I think we're scared of it, at sometimes to, oh man, I can't bring a GC. That's my, this guy, Joe Blowfence is going to know, and I'm like, I feel like as a fence person, you just got to be confident with what you're doing. You said it before, Chance, is really amazing. As, by the way, on the screen, you guys can see some of the first time exhibitors this year at the fence show. So that's really cool. What's really cool, I can see some fence install companies obviously having a booth. That's cool. I think that's healthy. I think, if you're a fence install company, get a booth. Why not? If you can afford it, right? It's all about affordability, and if that's your area. I know, if Vegas or SoCal or stuff like that isn't maybe your area, but I think you got to get out there, and beat the drums and beat your own drums, I just got told they're distributors, so there you go. Don't listen to Sasha. They're not fence installers; they're distributors. But that's a cool time. That's a cool thing. And they're all new. Like, that's exciting when you're growing, I think, a show and you've got a list that big of new vendors. That's cool. That's, to me, real cool. So we're going to wrap up, guys. I know we're all busy doing our stuff. I have a question that I want to ask you guys to pivot back to commercial. How do you – so, Chance, I know, Tyler and you guys are in completely two different – it might as well be two different worlds, right? But when you're reading plans, in my experience in the install side, man, I could never find fence properly. Like, Tyler, you talked about, if you miss that 100 feet, you miss something, that's on you if you're bidding the whole scope of work. Like, what would you tell people out there that are maybe even looking at bids right now, like fence, and they're, what are some things they'd be wary of as or they're actually looking at plans on commercial jobs?
Well, I would say get properly trained. I mean, I don't know if there's any training courses through the fence show that does plan work or stuff like that too, but I would say definitely take a couple classes. I mean, there's always the school of YouTube, stuff like that too, just so you can get familiar with it. I mean, it's not going to give you the, A to Z instructions. You got to kind of read between the lines, but educate yourself. Always educate yourself, because if you jump in without the education, the GCs can smell that, right? And you can tell them, hey, look, I'm new to this, stuff like that too. But if you're too green, they're not going to have confidence in you, right? So you got to know a little bit of what you're talking about, or fake it till you make it, right? So educate yourself. Maybe use resources. And another thing too is maybe collaborate with another fence company, right? Always put yourself out there. If you're residential trying to get in commercial, maybe knock on the door of another fence company that's pretty busy and say, hey, look, man, how about a collaboration? How about I install some work for you? And maybe you see if they got any opportunities for you to be a sub, so you can start getting exposed to some of these job sites. They'll give you a work order and stuff like that too, and see how a real fence company does things, right? And it's kind of, it's a two-way street. You're helping them and they're helping you. We're all making money here, but you're also learning on the job too, right? Because a lot of the stuff is learn as you go.
Yeah, in my experience, not gonna go too wide on this, but it brought my idea to my mind whenever you said use your like relationships or other fence contractors. We got hit up by a pretty big developer in our area for a pretty giant fence. It was like 12,000 foot of wood fence. It was very custom. Job came out to like 200 and something $1,000, 250. Well, it was very overwhelming, right? Everything was in different spots, and when you give you your plans, they gave me like 300 something plans, and it had all kind of different elevations and all this. So I was like, look, it's way over my head. So what I did was I reached out to somebody who had more experience, and he was more than welcome to share that knowledge. And I'm sure he would, wouldn't mind me saying his name. His name was Tony Thornton. Reached out, hey, this is way over my head, man. Can you, you know, help me a little bit? I'll figure out the whole bid. Can you help me look at the numbers? Am I bidding this? Am I bidding this close to right? Because there's things to think about, like in these big jobs, is like lay down areas,
Access, yeah.
things like that you may not even realize if it's your first time, right? If it's your first time, so reach out to the people that did it before, and they more than likely 99 out of 100 times will help you out.
Yeah, I like that. I think collaboration, what excites me about even, talking with you guys for the first time, meeting you, Chance, and listening to your story. And, Tyler and me have known each other for a fairly long time. Dude, we just got to collaborate. Like, it's not the end of the world, like you got to get, I like what Tyler said. I love what you said, Chance. Tyler just said, got to get out there, collaborate, and you just did it. And it's tough, yeah, because you got to put yourself out there. And maybe someone's going to tell you no. That's okay. You're in a community of people that, yeah, exactly. And there's people that will say yes, because I feel for me that would be my not big, but one of the big pitfalls is transition from residential to commercial. Size is one. Like you said, different specs, like different locations. Where are we on the plans? Like I remember looking at plans going, we're in the mechanical section. What? How is fencing in? And we're in the electrical section. You just like, and you miss this, like Tyler said, and all of a sudden now you're lumped with thousands and thousands of dollars that are on you. So it's collaborate. I think, and I'm excited about this new program. Ty, just to add to your question about the education, FWA is going to have the commercial education at the show coming up, which is hopefully, we'll collaborate with some really good commercial people, residential people, and sort of start really helping them go, okay, well, don't be scared. Get in there. I like it. But what's amazing is the word collaboration. I feel like I don't know why we've lost that in fencing. Chance, this is the last question and we got to go, but Chance, and were you born in fencing? Did you sort of stumble into fencing? How did you get into fencing?
No, I didn't have nothing to do with fencing. First generation, kind of just thought I could build a good fence. I did have some carpentry background. I worked for a general contractor building houses, so look, I knew power tools. I thought a fence had to be level across the top, right? So I struggled. It was a struggle at first. Didn't make no money at first. Thought I was making a lot of money, So we grew a lot, and look, fence has a lot of uncontrollables, right? A lot of uncontrollables. Weather, things in the ground, unmarked utility lines, private lines. I mean, you name it, we deal with it. So it's it takes a community. It takes takes everybody, all effort to be successful.
Yeah, I agree. Ty, just wrapping it up. What about you? Did you fall into fence? I mean, you've been in fencing what now? How long?
Since 2010, so 15 years. 15 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I started off digging holes. Definitely wasn't born into it. Started off digging holes and moved up to operations and now into sales and then into full operations, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And guys, as we wrap up, I just want to shout out again the Fence Show, Fence and Studio Show, Las Vegas, South Point. Education program starts September 29th. All of the programs that are out there, I know there'll be more and more advertising for people to look at. The floor show starts October 1st to 3rd. So everyone out there, come and support this show. See what this community. I feel like we're starting to create a community finally, and the more we can talk about this and encourage other fence people in America to go collaborate. Let's all help each other. At the end of the day, I feel like it's more power to our community if we help each other rather than ostracize each other because you're the enemy. So, guys, I want to thank you. I think I made my first hosting podcast. I know it's probably bad, so I appreciate you guys putting up with me. Thank you for your time. Chance, it was so awesome to meet you. I can't wait to watch what you and your company do. And Ty, thank you. You've been a great mate, and I can't wait for your space too and what's going on in Arizona. And guys, thanks for everything. And let's I look forward to hopefully seeing everyone at the Fence Show.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good night.
You too.